standard too, clowning you. Villains with every aspect I choose, and showing just that they lose when they step in the game. Everyone knows my name. Doctor Strange, who, Spider-Ham, maybe, and Black Widow, on a secret mission to stop the villain. Dance of Death is the main event. Unless I'm Rocket Raccoon, no time to be rude. Oh wait, I'm a superhero, always willing to go to blow with crimes to save so many lives. A stud is do or die. Marvel champions, you a champion. I'm champion, we are champions. I'm a superhero, always willing to go to blow with crimes to save so many lives. A stud is do or die. Marvel champions, you a champion. I'm champion, we are champions. They say it's a little bit slow, but I'm all about control. I'm not stunned and confused, cause there's no way I would lose. I flip up and down, villains stand around till I'm ready or not. This combo ready to drop 20, 30 damages and cannon Hulk smash. I'm a bash, put him in the trash and call it a match. Let's step up in the portal or get up in game. Dead Winnie the Nelson, so keep it locked and watching. I'm a superhero, always willing to go to blow with crimes to save so many lives. A stud is do or die. Marvel champions, you a champion. I'm champion, we are champions. I'm a superhero, always willing to go to blow with crimes to save so many lives. A stud is do or die. Marvel champions, you a champion. I'm champion, we are champions. They call me Desperate Game and he's an animal.
Hello everybody, welcome to Descry Gaming. I'm Descry. I'm here to bring you a new thing in my series. It's going to be called Let's Talk and then the Hero. So what it is it's kind of like getting my information, my experience, my wisdom to the viewer, to you. And we're going to talk about Psylocke. Now, the premise of the Let's Talk Input Hero, I'm gonna see how well this video does. This will be my first one, but it's more of if I had to put it in a nutshell, it's kind of like if you ever watched Steve from Play the Game when he would break open a hero pack and quickly go over the cards and whatnot. It's sort of like that, but I'm gonna spend a lot more time in analyzing each card and talk about synergies, talk about ideas, and also challenge my chat. For those that are watching it live here, maybe we discover something together. But yeah, it's gonna be kind of like that. If you've ever watched Steve from Play the Game, his kind of deep dives or whatnot, it's kind of tailored towards that. No fancy villain theory graphics and charts. It's just me at the table showing you guys the cards, talking about the synergies, the strengths, the weaknesses, and just kind of diving into these heroes and what they're all about. So it's pretty free-flowing, and this is going to be the first video of the series. Let's talk Psylocke. So we're going to jump into Psylocke, and she is the newest hero currently. This is in September of late 2023. And the other one is Angel, which I haven't jumped into, but I will be jumping into Angel soon. So let's go to the table and we're going to start talking about Psylocke.
Wrote me.
All right, so here we are, guys. You and me at the table. So what I've done is I've kind of laid out the cards. So these are her toolkit identity cards, and I really like playing her with the two katanas side by side on the playmat. It just looks really cool, looks badass. So anyway, Psylocke is, in my opinion, kind of like a puzzle type character. Now, the closest thing I can kind of give you is like maybe like changing form character, but she's not a change form character, but it's like a little bit of domino if you play domino of late. There is a little bit of a puzzle to try to figure out, do I want, my knife or do I want my katana? Because when you play certain events, they do certain things based on your 2 psi energy upgrades. And which is really fun. I really like that kind of puzzly thinking mechanic. And to be honest, like once you get the flow of domino, she gets a little bit simple as far as the puzzle goes, where I still feel Psylocke can still juggle your brain cells. But yeah, she's fun. I really like the design of her. And I know some people initially when they played her kind of Steve from Play the Game, even though he play tested, I think he play tested her, but yeah, he had a live stream and it was just a dumpster fire of let's just say he didn't have a good time with Psylocke. But honestly, I think not every hero, like we're getting to what 40 plus heroes in the game, and the developers have to come up with different creative ways and feelings of each of them play. So I think it's okay for us to have these puzzle type heroes. I like them. And again, when I say puzzle, it's more of like you have to think a lot and think about what you're doing. So yeah, your turns might take longer at the table. If you're playing with your friends, they might be like, "Oh, great, he picks Psylocke." Kind of like Domino too. Domino takes some time, but once you play her a lot and then you start deck building for her, she's a really cool hero to deck build. And let's just kind of jump in here. So really, when we talk about Psylocke, let's start with the altar side. Now, this is a key thing I didn't catch right away when I started playing with her, but that action event or action ability exhausts 1 psi energy. So what they're talking about, just so we understand here, the psi, basically your blades, and they flip around, but they're both psi energy. So you can exhaust either a katana or a knife. But yeah, to proc it, you would exhaust a knife or a katana, a psi energy. And then exhaust, yeah, so you exhaust the arrow, shuffle 1 psionic card from your discard pile into your deck. Now, it's not limited per phase, per round. So technically, you could shuffle in 2 psionic cards back into your deck, which I think yes, there's obviously a cost. So you're missing out on a resource from one of your psi energy weapons. Yes. But I mean, that could be huge. That reminds me a lot like Wasp. So if you're a big fan of Wasp and putting back, genius cards into your deck, this allows you to put psionic cards back in your deck, which in my opinion, some of the psionic cards in this game are really strong. Like really, really good. Professor X, Psionic Kicker, um, there's a whole bunch. There's the manipulation cards that are extremely good as well. So I think this is a sleeper action ability. Yes, you got to weigh out the pros and cons. How many psi energies? You have 2 psi energy upgrades. How many do you want to exhaust? Is it just one or both? But yeah, I think once you get that kind of feel for her and you play her to that strength, you're gonna improve a lot with your Psylocke play, in my opinion. But I think right there, I kind of when I first played her, I didn't really take advantage of that too much, and I didn't really. And then deck building, right? So really think about the psionic cards you put in your deck, because again, that's huge. And I'm gonna go over some of those great combos and synergies with that ability. But I think right there, that's huge. And then if we flip over to the hero side, now you got some of the puzzle aspect happening here. So she has a star thing. So anytime she does a basic, meaning defend, thwart, attack, a basic, right? So you're exhausting to do those things. She can flip over one of her psi energy cards, either to katana side or the knife. So that's really cool because she's really strong when you think about it. She can get 3 attack. She can get 3 thwart. Not many heroes. There's only Phoenix that can get 3 thwart right off the bat. Spectrum and Yeah, I love Spectrum. Cable can kind of do it quickly if he wants, if he tackles his Techno Virus Purge. But again, very strong. Another thing too, if you're playing Next Evolution, there's a lot of scenarios where you control an ally called Hope Summers, and she takes your base stats. So Psylocke is actually very good in that regard because whether you want to do damage with Hope or you want to thwart, you can easily manipulate those katanas and knives to maximize her either her thwart or her attack. So again, um, anyone that is saying Psylocke is like low power hero, totally disagree. I think she is a more puzzly type hero, a hero that you have to kind of get a feel for. But yeah, I mean, I saw Nelson do expert Magneto with her because she's a so Magneto. His weakness is once if you can burst through those side schemes, and she can. She's got 3 thwarts, so she knocks them off in solo in one go. And she's the best confused hero, better than Miles Morales, which is like, oh my god, like Miles Morales is the king of status, but she's the queen of confused status. She is the best by far of just she has so many confuses in her deck. So yeah, he just wiped the floor with expert Magneto. But that points out like Magneto's weakness if you play in solo, multiplayer a little bit different, but again, she's a 3 thwart hero, can knock off those side schemes real quickly. Then she's got a dozen confuses in her deck to just kind of dumbfound Magneto. So yeah, it was a cakewalk for him. But that's what I'm saying is obviously she's going to run into some of a snag when she goes into steady heroes or a steady villain or a stalwart villain. Stephen Ball says in chat, I like Psylocke so far, but I don't think I'll be playing her too often. As far as control X-Men characters, I like Rogue more. Yeah, so are you talking like Rogue? Rogue is also kind of a puzzle too because, well, she's not. I wouldn't say maybe not as puzzly, but like, yeah, there's some puzzles with Rogue because you got to figure out who you're touching, and then you've got events like a superpowered adaptation, which you can then get like if you want to do I am Groot and Groot has 10 counters, you're doing like 10 thwart or 10 attack. So yeah, there's some cool things with her. But yeah, I'm liking Psylocke. I mean, it's totally fair to have your favorites, and again, and that's why I think power tier lists I think are so bad for the game because what you'll find is like not everybody plays the same way, right? Some people like to rush. Some people like to play very control type games. Some people want to do a lot of damage. So, and then we have such a big roster that there's heroes pretty much for every play style, you know. Again, though, I see the game a lot differently than say Villain Theory and other people. Some people see it more like a numbers game, but Steven says Rogue has her decision points. Psylocke feels like you're doing 12 steps and triggers to end up with remove 4th threat and confuse the villain. Yeah, I mean, she's got the domino type puzzle thing go, which I mentioned in the intro. But I think like I talked with Night of the Living Card Game, another content creator, the more you play with the puzzle heroes, you get quicker. You get a little bit like it's like doing your times tables. Like when you're a kid, learning your times tables. Obviously, it took a while, but you got better the more you practiced and did it. So I think obviously when you're playing Psylocke for the first 5 games, you're going to be slow. You're going to be thinking a lot. But I think the more you play with her, the more familiar and the more like the times tables, they'll come right away like memorization. But so yeah, I wanted to go over those kind of main points. And yes, puzzle hero, that's what we're talking about. But she's a fun puzzle hero to me. But she has these cool upgrades. So first she's got martial arts training. Really good. That's going to bump her up to 3 defense. And again, 3 defense is really awesome. You don't see that in a lot of heroes. That's going to give her more survivability. But another nice thing is she has an option to ready herself. So I'll give you an example. Say you're you're battling a villain and you're getting closer to the end game, and say things are tight, your health is kind of low. He comes in for an attack, you defend, you only take like maybe 1 damage because he hits you for 4. But you're gonna do your big blast turn. You're gonna 1 turn kill him the next turn. So then you want to discard this. You're ready now. So now you have a nice 3 attack to go. So there's stuff like that you can kind of do. Or depending on your situation, you might want to use it. Hey, what's up, Mark? Mark says Psylocke's puzzling is fun though. S tier confuser. Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. She is S tier confuser for sure. She's the queen of confuse. I think her training regimen and skill synergy is my favorite thing about her. Yeah, and I'm gonna get into that too, guys. Yeah. So, anyways, I mean, we were due for another kind of artistic Descry, either response video or some type of analytical video. So I'm doing. This is a new series that I'm doing called Let's Talk, and then insert whatever hero or thing I want to talk about. And it's more casual, more like you guys can kind of intertwine with me a bit. We're just chilling, we're talking, and we're just gonna let things happen. But I'm gonna try my best to cover Psylocke here. But yeah, we're going over her main identity sets, and I'm making comments whether I like them, don't like them. Uh, and we'll circle back to this in a moment. But weapons training is I like. Retaliate 1, I think Retaliate is a really good trait, or it's not a trait, keyword. Let's get the terminology right, Descry. It's just Retaliate 1. It just there's those games where, and especially like she has piercing, but definitely really good for heroes that don't have an answer to tough. It's a good kind of utility sometimes just to get a nice tough off. But I do like, because sometimes like there might be a minion with like 5-6 health and you can only do 5 damage, right? Or only do 4 damage. So let them hit you for 2 or 1 or whatever, and now but yeah, I am a fan of. I do like Retaliate on heroes. I think especially if you're grinding, and it's a passive way to kind of get damaged, little by little. I know it's only 1, but I think sometimes, like, I've had games where it boils down to 1 or 2 damage that I need to kill the villain. So it's a cheap upgrade, but better yet, there's a response for it. After Psylocke attacks, discard weapon training, ready each weapon upgrade you control. So let's talk. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Steven says having access to piercing is amazing. Exactly. It's huge. More and more with how much tough is in the game, I feel like piercing has become maybe the best keyword. Yeah. And I think too, I think I mean, if you like Psylocke, if Psylocke is one of your up and coming favorites, I mean, it is awesome that she has piercing on her katanas. Like, I can't, and you only need to have one of them flipped. You don't have to have both. Which I thought maybe as a balance situation, to get piercing, you would have to have both katanas out. To kind of push that puzzle aspect a little bit more. But yeah. So I want to talk about weapons train now. The thing is, okay, if you look at, you see no restricted weapon on her side knife side. But if you flip it over, spaghetti-o, restricted. So, so here's the thing. I wouldn't recommend trying to throw a third weapon out there. And yes, you could play around with it and just have one katana out. But I think you'd be playing her with one arm tied behind your back by trying to juggle that. What I recommend, and it's in the basic upgrade, it's called side holster. Where is it? Yeah, so just run side holster. It's very easy to get down. It's 0, and then it allows you to get that third weapon. What I would say too about that third weapon, my recommendations, and I heavily recommend. Yes, this is by if you want to listen to anything I say tonight about Psylocke, this is the one I stress the most. This is almost like an auto include for me when I play Psylocke. It's such a good. Okay, let me go into depth on this one. Okay, so you play your side holster. So this is psionic. It's a weapon. More importantly, it has the TAC abbreviation on it. Okay, which I'm going to get into that a little bit more. But the fact that it can be combined with weapons training. So when you do your combo, one turn kill, or finish off the villain, you're going to proc the weapons training. And you have so much psionic traded cards in your deck. You're definitely going to proc this the first time, and then you're going to do your weapons training. So that's 4 damage already for this card. But the fact is, you don't have to pay anything. It's just an exhaust, and you're playing psionic cards. You have so many of them. And trust me, the retaliate one, this 2 damage, it adds up quickly. Believe me. But more importantly, if you're playing Justice, or if someone's playing Justice with you, and they throw on a float like a butterfly, now your scimitar does additional damage twice, right? Because you're gonna discard weapons training. So now instead of doing 2, it's doing 3 and 3. So that's 6. And then if she's constantly confusing with her toolkit. So if you have float like the butterfly out with a scimitar, that you're doing a lot of damage, and that's going to add up really quickly. But I just wanted to quickly, mention that. And if, yeah, that's the biggest thing. But yeah, I definitely think this is probably, so far in the game, this is our best hero to use this card with, in my opinion. If you're stunned, just play a psionic card, whatever. Guess what? Your stun is gone. So it's even a way for her just to get stun off her. Steven says, I've been toying with putting a mutant education expansion into Psylocke to more aggressively trigger her skill upgrades. Then confuse, flip down, recycle them, search them up. Yeah, that's a good idea. I haven't tried it, so I'm not going to put my stamp on it or not. I feel I've played this game long enough to realize that we can have great ideas in our head, but until you actually play a hard scenario or whatnot to test it out, sometimes it does. I've had many times where I'm like, oh man, if I built a deck like this and like this and like this, then I play it and it just totally didn't work the way I thought it would work. But yeah, those are good ideas. Anyways, so should you do the side holster with Psylocke? I think you should, because then you're getting more mileage out of weapons training. You're readying 3 weapons, okay? And usually you're triggering weapons training usually when you're going to go for the kill on the villain. So it just makes total sense. If you're not 100% on the side mitter, you could run a sonic rifle. You could run some other type of a God Slayer if you want. I don't know. But to me, I think the side mitter is the best. The psionic. If you don't want to play it early in the deck pass, you can then get it back by using your action ability because it's psionic. Good point with clearing stun easily with Psymitter. I love heroes that allow you to easily clear statuses. Things like being stunned as Starlord, being able to just discard it to element gun to remove. Yeah, totally. All right, guys. So let's continue. So we talked about weapons training. Then we got another upgrade training, which is psionic training. So this is it's got that Miles Morales kind of vibe here, like with his upgrades that can confuse or stun. But this one ignores guard and patrol. I wish it said ignore crisis. That would be so amazing. Now, I know some people don't think, I think this is big because let me explain. Okay. When you get into harder scenarios and harder modulars and the newer content that's going to be dropping upon us, believe me, there's going to be a lot more tougher guards with more HP, tough, and bad effects. There'll be patrol people. So I only think this card or this ability that she has is going to get stronger as we go into harder stuff. Because there's times where you really want to get a confuse off. Like, what if your partner really has to flip down, but you guys can't deal with a really tough guard minion with tough or whatever? Yeah, I know the core guards and the earlier guards in the game are pushovers, like 3 health, 4 health. But I think as we go into these future expansions, believe me, trust me, it's going to be a lot more scarier to deal with certain guard minions. Also, I believe, and this is speculation, but I think, just like we have teamwork, that the villain has teamwork, there's going to be some other type of mechanic out there. I don't know what it is exactly, but I have my hunch, my suspicion that there'll be another big mechanic that is going to also cause it for heroes to have a harder time dealing with the villain or the scheme. What's my evidence for this? I don't know. It's just that intuition that I have, that based on some things I've heard from interviews and other people I've talked to, I'm speculating that yes, we're going to get some other big new mechanic that's going to change, just like player size schemes, how it changed the game we play a little bit. Because they have to spice it up a little bit for the villain side, right? If you're giving the players all these treats and candies, that's going to make the game too easy, right? So the developers have to find kind of that fun, challenging kind of grid. And if they give the players way too much candy and all these Christmas time presents, then the game gets a little bit too easy and whatnot. But no, and that's the hard thing about, I think, being a developer. But my point is, I got really sidetracked there. But what I'm trying to say is, because people usually talk about, oh, I never care about patrol, I never care about guard or crisis, ignore crisis. But trust me, as this game gets more harder and complicated, these things will matter. These things will matter. And if you ever play on, harder difficulties, harder modulars, standard 2, if you're a masochist, expert 2, but that's a different topic. This does mean a lot, trust me. But I'm beating a dead horse here, but I think I like it, especially for her, because like I said, say your resources are tight, you don't have the luxury to take out the guard person, but you want to really put a confuse on the villain with your Fury of Blades. You can do it because you now have ignore guard. If you're, I'm trying to say if you're attacking in hero phase, but I don't think you can. When you need to ignore guard patrol, you really need to ignore it. Yeah, that's true. But the important thing, you got after Psylocke thwarts, discard psionic training, confuse enemy. So here's the cool part. What if you had a patrol dude and you just had a main scheme on? So this allows you to say, see you later, patrol dude, do your thwart on the main, and then you could response this after and get a confuse on the villain. So say you didn't have the confuse event in your hand and you really need a confuse. This allows you to do it. So I think that's just super great. All right, so Angel, I don't know how people feel about Angel, but I think it's a great ally. I think anytime you can get a ready is extremely good. It scales really well power-wise in certain builds, and I think this is a really good money card. Steven says, my first game with her was two-handed with Angel against Michogen. That card let me push for the win a whole turn early by ignoring 2 Goblin Thralls. Exactly, good point. Thank you for dropping that example for us. So I like Angel. I think he is a great signature ally. Again, readies are awesome in this game. They, if you build towards scaling with a ready, you get value, value, value. And I have some good ideas about Angel in different archetypes, different aspects, but we'll go into that later. I don't want to spoil it right now, but overall, I think he wants to kind of do attacking, but he does have that one thwart there for you. But pretty solid hero. I like him. Then she's got, we didn't talk about training regimen. So training regimen, when I first played Psylocke, I kind of didn't really read this card that well. But so exhaust training regimen. Now you could play it in hero or altar. You can also use it in either hero or altar. But there is a negative if you were to use it in hero. So basically, if you're in hero, it would cause you to discard one card from your hand. So, but this is really strong. It allows you to search your deck for a skill card and add it to your hand. Now, your only skill cards in your identity kit are your upgrades, your 3 upgrades. So I think when you deck build, you want to put at least minimum 2 aspect traded skill cards, at least at the minimum. That way it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because really, you want to use either for a resource or put down one of the trainings, right? But I think the more the merrier. Obviously, you don't want to go extreme because some of the skill cards in the game aren't like phenomenal. But I think 2 at the minimum is a good starting point. That way, at least it kind of gives you a guaranteed kind of use of this. Because if you don't put any, then it's like there's times where this does nothing. You can use this card with extra skills like Cyclops gets tactics just for resources often. Yeah, so exactly, good point. But yeah, very good, very good. Again, and this is like, this doesn't go into your deck like her ability on the other side for psionic cards. This goes to your hand. So I can't stress that. It's like a tutoring of a unique, of a skill card that you might need. So going to her events. Now she has 3 sort of attack events and 3 thwart events with 2 pseudo or 2 cancels for when revealed effects. So that could be any sort of counter card, but it has to have a when revealed effect. And then she has the defense sort of 2 of them, which can reduce damage and confuse an enemy. This shines most in aggression. Yeah, aggression does have quite a bit. So yeah, she's a balanced, I say a balanced hero for far as with attacking and thwarting goes. Hone technique is a skill. You can get mean swing for 3 damage because you always have weapons. Yeah, good point. Yeah, we're going to go over that. So I really like, let's start with mental detection. I really like this card because she has a small hand size in hero. And so here's the thing, say if your hand size is quite small, you could just cycle it with your resource generators. And say if you just want, 2 katanas out, you just want to use, so resource generators are on your playmat. So you could just kind of cycle this out and get 2 more cards and remove 1 threat. But that gives you options. Say you're trying to do damage this turn, you don't have it in your hand. Well, this is a way to kind of cycle a bit and get a little bit of a card advantage. Or you want to burst down, say a bad side scheme came out, a hazard, and you are the only hero that can actually take it out. You could remove 5 for 2 costs, which is good value. 5 for 2 costs is really good. Really, really good. Hey, Timar, what's up? Yeah. So, and I thank you for mentioning that. We're trying to grow this channel, okay? We want to be a big player. We want to hang with the big boys like Nelson and D20. Although those are gigantic compared to me. They're at like 3,000. We're at 600 or so. Like, I can dream, right? We can dream. But the only way I'm thinking we're ever going to hit 1,000 at least is I got to put out stuff that people enjoy. Yes, I like playing the game and I have lots of Let's Plays. And yes, there's people that do like to watch my Let's Plays, but I think people are attracted more to these type of content. Um, and I'm willing to, push out the content, right? Um, so yeah, we're trying to grow the channel, and I listen to you guys. I listen to your comments. I pretty much read every single comment that gets dropped on a video. So believe me, I don't miss anything. But yeah, the responses have been pretty good. People like me talking about the game. They like when I respond to other content creators. They like this. So that's what we're doing, and I like to change it up a bit. I like, I don't want to just produce only Let's Plays or only deep dives or whatever you call them. They're called Let's Talks. I'm making my own series. But yeah, so again, mental detection I think is a really good card, really good value, and it has some utility. So you can cycle draw a little bit of card advantage if you need it. And again, it kind of plays into the puzzle nature of Psylocke, which again, and this is why I love the game so much. If people ask me, why are you're playing a card game that's not even PvP, it's not even competitive, because you would think that there's no way you would play a card game for three or plus years and it not being a competitive head-to-head with players. Like, I'm literally just playing solitary, right, in a nutshell. But because the game is just so well designed and so interesting and different, and there's so many different, we can customize this game so much, and it doesn't play. Every game is unique, right? And we have so much variety, so many heroes, so many nemesis sets, so many modulars. I mean, this is why literally, and here's the thing. If we didn't have the high caliber, like we have Caleb, Tony, and a couple other guys. I know Tony, some of them have shifted over to different spots of Fantasy Flight, but we have very talented designers with this game. And I know this gets thrown a lot, like, oh, do you think the game's going to die in a year or so? Okay, let's explore this bunny rabbit trail, because that's apparently what I'm doing. No, this game is not going to die, because here's the reasons. You have really, really well experienced and super talented developers, and they do listen to the community as much as people don't think. They do hear about, I mean, have we had another Hulk? Like, they probably put a poster on their office, never again, release another Hulk hero. I do like Hulk, and I think Hulk is actually a good hero. But, that's sort of, the community loves to talk about Hulk. But my point is that they do love, like, Caleb loves Marvel. He loves comics. Tony is super talented, very like, mechanically his stuff is so great. So you don't have you have talented developers that love the game, and that do like us, the players. They're not like these elitists that don't want to listen to anything we say. So that is one reason. Two reason, it's freaking Marvel. There's Marvel is not going anywhere. It's been around forever. It's, yes, Disney has done weird things with Marvel and Star Wars, and the list goes on. But you cannot sink Marvel. Marvel is like the unsinkable ship. I mean, if the superhero universe is gonna fall, Marvel will be the last one to fall. Before DC, before all these other ones. It's just so big. And yes, I sound like maybe I'm too into it, but it's a great universe. Everyone grew up with Spider-Man, the X-Men. There's so many, like, I mean, you can't take that away from us. Like, it's engraved in our head. So anything with Marvel, they would have to, like I said, go back to number one and screw up game design, not listen to the players, frustrate everybody, overprice everything, make it a cash grab to even, get to that point where the game dies. And It's not going to die because people are not interested. It's Marvel, and it's a great card game. So that's number 2. And number 3, what is number 3? Does anybody know in chat? Most of the games people cite FFF dropping were competitive LCGs. It seems obviously they don't want to support competitive ones anymore and focus on corruptor ones. Yeah, and here's the thing. I think that's smart because what is the competition out there for cooperative living card games? Like zero almost. Yeah. So I think they are smart. Just it's working. Okay. This game's been out for a long time and it's only getting more popular. That being said, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Flesh and Blood is trying to creep into this thing that we call Marvel Champions. They're trying to come up with a PvE system, and they're play testing and beta testing it. Hasn't been released yet. That I will say this, guys, and you can timestamp this video, clip it. I believe if Flesh and Blood, and they have a very talented developers on that in that game as well. If they're able to see the formula, because this is Chef Kiss formula right here, and the problem with them though, they have to incorporate their game that's already PvP, but somehow sprinkle in PvE and make it all work. That's going to be challenging. But if anybody could do it, I think their dev team could do it. Because those guys are super on top of the PvP, and they're very creative. I'm plugging Flesh and Blood, and I don't even do Flesh and Blood on my channel. But that is a game. If they go into PvE, I probably will showcase it on this channel. And then the question is it going to beat Marvel Champions? I don't think so, because Marvel Champions is strictly made for cooperative play. But I will say I think that would challenge Marvel Champions, and you can clip this video, and we'll see if I'm right or wrong. But that does surprise me, since Fab's identity is based on playing in person with others. But here's the thing: it's still playing with others, right? Because PvE, it's multiplayer PvE too. It's not solo. So you could go to an event, play head to head, and then say you want to chill and fight some monsters as a team. You can do that once they release it. But guys, that is good in a sense, because what that does, as we know, more competition equals better games, better stuff, right? If you had one taco stand selling the burrito, and that's the only taco stand in the area, but then a competitor comes out and he's selling his taco for $1 cheaper and it has better flavor, it makes the other taco guy try to do better and give you a better price and all that. So I think it's good. I think it's good for us. And again, it's not going to kill us. You know, Marvel Champions isn't going to die to Flesh and Blood's PvE system. It might bring more people into Marvel Champions, actually, to come to, because if they have a good experience, like if people were on the fence with Flesh and Blood and then they play that and they're like, oh, this is really cool, I really like the PvE of Flesh and Blood, and then they might be like, is there other games like that? Oh, Marvel Champions. So anyways, that was a long bunny trail. Let's get back to business here. You know, this is a very casual let's talk environment. You know, it's gonna go a lot of different ways. Psionic Redirect. So not every hero has these type of cards. So again, this is kind of a defense type of card. It's going to protect your hero. But what's cool about it, it's also utility. It can give you a confuse by having a knife out. And you can do prevent damage, sorry. So you could potentially prevent 6 damage by having 2 katanas out, or having one knife out, prevent 4 damage, and do a confuse. So very strong. Definitely one of my favorite cards. The only negative is if you were to get that in altar form and you flip to hero and you really want to use it next turn, you have a 4 hand size. So you're only getting 3 additional cards plus this one that's in your hand. So you really, ideally, you would want to draw it into hero phase, but it's hard. She does seem strong in protection. I have to try that next. Yeah. And then we're blessed with a pseudo sort of cancel. Yeah, it's a cancel. But it has to have the when revealed, I believe. When you reveal a card from the counter deck, cancel its when revealed. I had a rule question. I wasn't sure if people know in chat. Could you play this without a when revealed effect on a card? Because say you just want to do damage to something. From my understanding, I think you have to have something, a when revealed effect. But then it's saying when revealed in bold with the quotations. Does it mean specifically when the text of the encounter says when revealed on it, on the text box? Yeah, that I don't know. But anyways, regardless, this is a great card. The only tricky part is that 4 hand size, and but again, it can come in clutch when you're playing on a hard difficulty or there's a tempo turn. Tempo turn, let me explain, is so you're going to deck out. That's additional counter cards. So you're getting, instead of 1 counter card, 2, or maybe there's a hazard out. Now you're getting 3. That is called a tempo turn for the villain, if you're wondering. Tempo meaning the villain's going to do a lot more things and get a lot more tempo on you. This card should be an upgrade you discard. Yes, I agree. I would have made her feel so nice, but then again, would it be too powerful, right? These are things that the developers, I think, might have looked at. It probably crossed their mind. Maybe we can make an upgrade, but she has a lot of upgrades to begin with. So that might be flooding her with too many upgrades. But again, great card. And then we have Fury of Blades. So Fury of Blades, it's probably one of my favorites. And I like it combos really well in aggression with aggressive energy resource. It bumps it by 3 damage, so it goes to 9. If you have warrior skill, which is a skill card, which you can get with training regiment into your hand, that can be bumped by 1 counter, do another 3 damage. So that's could do 9, or if you play aggressive with warrior skill, it's 10, 11, 12 damage for a 3 cost card. So aggression definitely can really supercharge this event card, but it's got utility. You can confuse again with it by changing your psi energy to a knife. So you might say at surface, without those synergies I was talking about, it's only maybe potentially 6 damage, 3 cost card. That's not very good. Swinging web kick is 8, but the utility, right? You have to, there's a trade-off. But again, if you're running those synergies that I mentioned, it goes up in value tremendously. Float like a butterfly, that can be played from a multiplayer teammate. If the villain's confused, which is no problem for you, that's going to bump it by 3. So you can already see this card can be very, very strong if you kind of pair it up in that type of matchup. So this kind of is her toolkit and who Psylocke is. Again, puzzle. Play with her. You're going to be slow in the first couple games with her. Believe me, trust me. But the more you play, the more faster you'll get, the more it'll flow. And she's really fun. I love puzzle heroes. Yeah. So let's talk about the aspects, and then we'll wrap it up and have a final conclusion of everything. So let's start with leadership. I'm going to first talk about the Psychic Kicker card. All right, so I think this could be maybe the strongest psionic card that we have in the game. And let me just elaborate on that. It's a 0 cost at readies, but getting 2 more thwart or 2 more attack is huge. That's value there. Anytime you can ready, and again, if you play this in more of a tribal or a Voltron type deck, like for instance, not even. Let's say you play Professor X, which I'm going to go into pretty soon. Play Professor X, Nick Fury even, okay? These are cards that go away at the end of the turn. Professor X has three health. Nick Fury has 3 health. So you can get your money out of those cards. They're going to confuse or draw you cards. And Professor X has a Thor of 3. So that ready is already supercharged. And then it's going to go to 5. Your Thort, so very, very, very good. She is psionic, so she's not like Cable where you have to make sure that you deal with your personal size scheme. She just has it. Yeah, and like I said, it's very easy to, especially if you do Voltron. So if you do Voltron type build, is when you play an ally, and you know who's great in the Voltron build with her? Deadpool. So Deadpool, this is the way I like to do it. Is if you run also Uncanny X-Force, you could thwart with Deadpool and not have to worry about him taking consequential damage. But then here's the best part: when you're ready to do your 1-turn kill, like guns blazing, you play a whole bunch of the kickers on that round. You're gonna kill the villain. Doesn't matter how many times Deadpool dies or not dies, but gets the extra acceleration. You're gonna kill the villain. So extremely strong. And you throw on, like with Deadpool, you can put Inspire on him. You can put a sidearm on him. So now he's a 4 attack with range. That adds up. That ready now becomes super good with the +2. So that's a 6 with a psionic kicker. That's 6. And what else do I want to say? But even like cards like this, like look, Domino, right? Use your psionic kicker, and maybe there's a useless card you don't like, or you want to sift through a card that you really want. But that's giving you that utility with that ready. So I think I really like that psionic card. It's definitely auto-clued if I'm doing leadership with her, and it's very good. And the other thing, just this is kind of a side note, but I like to run command teams to benefit more with the Voltron type play to do that huge damage on the last turn with Deadpool. Is there any else things to mention in leadership? I think that's the thing. That's your currently, from what I know, that's your best kind of build with her, is taking advantage of the psionic kicker, and that could be played on other allies too. So if you're playing multiplayer, it's not your ally, it's any type of ally. So it is a hero action. That is maybe the only negative. Whereas the aspect that's non-psionic ready is you can do it in alter or hero. All right, let's talk about justice. Oh, before we go into justice, I want to talk a little bit about the basic aspect. So one really good combo is Professor X with Cerebro. So here's the thing. Professor X is psionic, right? Your ability, exhaust the psi energy, shuffle back a psionic card into your deck. So you can basically Professor X till your heart's content. And by having Cerebro, which you can play because you're a mutant in an altar, you can go fetch Professor X by doing that combo. And you could technically, once you get this online, you can repurpose that or do it constantly every round if you want. And then you have the resource generators, usually with Psylocke, to do that quite easily. So I would say that could be used in any type of deck build that you're doing because it's basic. So she has psionic trait and alter, which is Perfect. So yeah, I would say as another big recommendation for this stream, guys, is the Cerebro Professor X build. You don't even need a, it's if you want Colossus for a tough, sure, but like that these are the two money cards, and you can keep recurring them, and it's awesome. So uh, definitely explore that, see if you like that. I didn't talk too much about this resource card. So here's my thing, right? Uh, I haven't tested it enough, but um, when you're trying to make those 40 card decks, space is really tight. And if you're running 3 of the doubles, with a lot of resource generators on your table, is it worth having a power in the mind? Because she has a 4 hand size, right? So that's the other scale. Like, it wouldn't, if she was a 5 hand size in Hero, I think these would be a lot more stronger, in my opinion. But the fact that you could maybe get 1 or 2 of them in a 4 hand size, that's a little scary. But I do think, I don't think it's like a trap to not put these in your deck. I just think maybe go 1 or think about it, play test it. One thing I would mention is I do believe they work with these type of upgrades. So because there was a ruling with CITT, the ruling was, could you use CITT? It's a similar kind of support where you have to pay to use the support and play. And the ruling people got back that you could use a power in all of us to pay. It would be a double for it. So I believe it would apply to the power of mind for this card as well. Steven says X-Men allies that reduce in cost are a little weaker with her and Angel because you only get the discount in Alter Ego since they are X-Men traded. True, yeah. Speaking of that, again, this is a really good 1 cost upgrade. Especially if you're playing with Float Like a Butterfly. If you're able to get that in your play area, that now becomes a 4 damage on the villain if he's confused. But more importantly, these type of cards are utility. So why they're good, okay, is they flow nice with her because you have so much resource generation on the play mat. If you have a clunky hand, it allows you to do something with your resource generators, whether it's doing damage or whether it's doing removing threat. Now, I like the damage one more. So if you're on the fence with these, you could just have at least 1 of them out. You don't have to put 2 of them in your deck, but like I think it gives you utility because there's some times where it's like, oh gosh, if I only had 2 more threat removal, or only if I had like 3 more damage or 2 more damage, I could defeat this really bad threat. Well, that's what utility gives you. It gives you the answer you need for that situation. So again, I think these are very good with her. I think they work. These are not bad pre-con type things. They actually do work pretty well with her. They're cheap. They're there on the playmat. Now, the other question is, would you want to run a mansion with her? It costs a lot. I think if you feel like you can do it in a scenario, it might be worth it. Any hero that has a really small hand size, definitely going to benefit you. I think my problem with me is I play on standard 2. And this is a card that's going to get targeted by overwhelming force, and it's a lot of investment. It costs 4, so that's why I'm not really playing it too much in my playthroughs because standard 2 just punishes you so much for playing a mansion. But yeah, I think if you play on standard or expert, then mansion is definitely probably a good pick to put in her deck. All right, give me a moment. 1 second. Someone's coming. Hold on, okay? All right, sorry about that. My 3-year-old was calling me, so I have to. So yeah, I was talking about some of the basics. Another notable mention I think is great in her deck is the X Gene. This allows you to play your off the player phase events such as telepathic suggestion and psionic redirect. Whereas team building training cannot. It's an action, hero action, which means you have to be in the player phase. But team building is actually still good to put in her deck. But I like, if I had to pick between team building or X Gene, I would pick X Gene just because it costs less and I can use it more, like I said, in the villain phase. But again, this is a money card too with her. Not saying not to put it in your deck. X Bunker is a great support if you are in a multiplayer setting and dealing with a lot of player size games. It's a wonderful card. In fact, this might be my favorite support currently in the game. But again, you have to be playing with player size games. It's because it allows you to look through your deck and pick. So especially with Cable, if Cable has like 6 or 7 player size schemes in, you literally get to look through 6 or 7 of your deck and pick the card that you need. Like that's like a cheat code. So definitely really strong. Helicarrier, I'm not sure. You gotta play test it. You gotta be careful. You don't want to have like too many build stuff. You have to balance it because depending how I think card draw is more important for her. But the problem with Mora McTaggart is you can't do this in Hero, and that's when you need the card advantage the most in Hero. But you are flipping constantly with her to get a bigger hand size, so it does synergize with what she's doing. But it's just sad that we can't apply this in Hero, where the Mansion you can. But I play on Standard too, where the Mansion feels really bad when it gets demolished. But yeah, Mora McTaggart is a good one because she's a flipper. So yeah, let's go back to, we're talking about Justice. Now Justice, this is by far one of the best cards for her. This card's really good for her. Trust me, believe me. It synergizes with those upgrades I mentioned in basic. Your upgrade, your Psymitter, your other upgrade that does 3 damage. Their attacks, so they work with this. Your Inferior Blades, your Angel coming in and readying you, and then Angel doing damage and you doing damage. It combos really well with that. Extremely good. I think one way or another is excellent with her because she can scheme a lot. She has 3 Thort, so she has that burst to knock down these side schemes, and she has really good threat removal with mental detection to remove 5. But the important part, it draws you 2 more cards, or draws you 3, but 2 card advantage. So I do like one way or another. Now, Psychic Manipulation is a Psionic card. I think a multiplayer, it's definitely worth it. I don't know if I run 3 of them, but maybe 1 or 2. And the fact that when your deck is thinning, you can use your alter ability, and you can kind of put it back into your thin deck, and the highly chances you're going to draw it when you do that. And then you gotta remember, Psychic Manipulation, not only is it stopping the villain from putting threat in. What's up, Sean? Thank you for subscribing. It's also 1 second, let me. I apologize. My wife sort of put my 3-year-old in the bathroom, but he's like complaining, and she's like vanished. Where was I? I'm trying. Yeah, we're talking about psychic manipulation. Um, I don't think it's as useful in solo. No, it costs a lot, but what you get more mileage out of it in multiplayer because the villain, like in solo, maybe the scheme goes up by 1 or 2. In a multiplayer game, the acceleration can go up, 3, 4, sometimes 5. Like, where you're gonna get more more mileage. Also, there's more of a threshold in multiplayer games, so there's more meat there for you to take advantage of using that card. So again, it is a strong card. I think it does scare people because of the cost, but it's definitely, I wouldn't say, a bad psionic card. Making the entrance is a skill card. So that is great. You can use your training regiment to get it. And more importantly, it gives you like a pseudo heal of 2. And the fact that you can have 3 thwart plus bump it to 5. And then you could, if you play that basic upgrade that can remove 2, you can kind of calculate it a little bit better. If you really got to stretch for a big thwart or whatever. Yeah, really nice. You could, if you want to go crazy, you could add Overwatch in there. So that when you're doing, if you have heroic intuition, that's 4 and then 5, 6. So you could bounce 6 with a basic, which is kind of fun. Now this one I thought I was gonna love. Like initially I thought I was gonna gush over, but the fact that I think if it was a 0 cost, that might be too OP. But I don't know. Some games. Here's the thing: don't run 3. Do not run 3. I would say run 1 or 2. My advice, because if you get 2 of these in your hand, that is the worst feeling in the world. For me, yeah. Well, I guess you could stun and confuse, but I think utility is great. I'm a very utility pro player. But I like. I think you don't want to have too much. She already has a ton of confuse, but I would say 1 or 2 at the most. I see the precons have her at 3 with this, but I think that's just too much overkill because there's times where you don't really want to do a status. You just want to do damage or whatnot, and this is where it gets kind of clunky. Like oh. But multiplayer game, it's a little more viable. Yeah, it's nice. The thing is, what if you want to thwart? Okay, this is what I'm getting at. What if you want to thwart? Like, what if you're pressured? The main's jacked up with threat. You don't have the luxury to do a base attack on the villain. And here's the other problem. Psylocke doesn't have her kind of her weakness is she doesn't have a lot of readies in her deck. There's no event readies. There is when you defend you can ready, and then there's the angel ally. That's it. So she's not a ready type hero per se naturally. So that's where this you're not all the time you want to play it but again I guess they have to make it. There has to be some sort of cost for you to do. But I wouldn't say it's like a terrible card. But don't put 3 of them in your deck. Just to mention, Heroic Intuition is a skill card. Again, you can use that with Training Regiment to go fetch it. And then I would recommend, as an archetype, run Agent Coulson. If you're playing Justice, what's nice about him is he will get you a preparation card. What's cool is, you can put in Target Acquire. That's a skill card. Again, you can pull it with your Training Regiment. And then where's my other? I'm missing a card. I want to find my counterintelligence. Okay, give me a second to grab it. Yeah, so you got counterintelligence and spycraft. Yeah, that could happen, Mark. I guess I always find when I'm building my 40 card decks, it's very competitive for those last few cards, and I'm always perplexed on which card I want to add. So all three of these are prep cards that Agent Coulson can grab. And more importantly, they all have the skill traded word. So not only can you Agent Coulson them, you can use Training Regiment. And what's nice is Spycraft is great for just making sure Shadows of the Past does never come out on your play, which her Shadows of the Past is fairly bad. We should have probably talked about that before we jumped into aspects, but yeah, her Shadows Past is kind of nasty, or her obligation even. Like, I don't like the obligation could really slow you down. So that's where Spycraft is nice, or you play on harder difficulties. But yeah, I do like, because when you run Agent Coulson, you run those, and these work with your Training Regiment too to grab them. So, but again, if I'm not saying that is the best way to play her in Justice, that's just an idea. A couple other mentions here. Skill Investigator is a skill. If you're playing a team game, you can quickly grab those for everybody on the table with your Training Regiment. Under Surveillance is not a skill, but I think it's a great card because she likes to go to altar to get a bigger hand size, and that's more of a security blanket for you, so that the villain doesn't win. Now here's a really cool combo with Justice. So, all right, so Float Like a Butterfly. You're gonna play that. You're gonna put that into play. More importantly, you're gonna play Lay the Trap. Okay, so Lay the Trap. You're just gonna play it whenever it comes. You're just leave it out there. You're gonna complete it when you're ready to go ready to go Super Saiyan on the villain. Okay, so when you complete it, but you're also gonna put a follow on it. So this is where it's fun. Plus, you're gonna put a chance encounter on it. So the cool part of this strategy is you're gonna defeat this side scheme when you're ready to kill the villain. The awesome part of it synergizes really well at what it's doing. Okay, for one, you want to kill the villain, so you're gonna do 5 per player. So if I'm playing two-handed, I'm doing 10 damage. Follow through is going to do another 4, so that's 14 damage. Then chance encounter is going to get Angel. So Angel's going to go, if Angel's in my deck or discard pile, I get it back to my hand. And what's perfect is you have to play Angel to rate your identity. So let's do the math here. So basically, you thwart that off in a 2-player game. You're doing 14 damage. You get Angel in your hand. You use your side blades doing 3 damage, but you have Confuse on the villain, so it's doing 4. So 4. So you're at so 10 in 2-player game plus. So you're at 14. You do another 4. That's 18. Play Angel. You ready? Angel does another 3. 19, 20, 21. Psylocke does another 4. 25 damage. And Angel only costs 3 resources, which you can easily play. So that's 25 damage right there. Then it gets better, guys. If you want to, where is it? So if you're running this in your deck, now this is a psionic card, but here's the fact that I run it, okay? Because you're guaranteed to get Angel. When you're about to go for the kill, you're going to get that side scheme out, which is going to bring Angel. This is a psionic card, which you could easily kind of put it back in your deck. And then if you're running like the that X support, and if you're playing in a team game and there's a lot of player size games out, then you can probably pick that out of your deck most likely, or you just happen to have it in your hand. More importantly, it's going to ready Angel and Psylocke again. Do another 4 and 3, 5, 6, 7 damage right there. Plus, you get maybe another Fury of Blades in your hand, and with the Float Like a Butterfly, Fury of Blades does 9. So what, we were at 28 plus 7, so 35 plus another 9, 44 damage with Fury of Blades. And that's not a lot of resources. I mean, yes, when you add Fury of Blades in there, that's 3. This is 2, Angel's 3, so that's 6, 7, that's 8 resources. But Angel comes to your hand free, so that's you, and then plus Fury of Blades comes into your hand for free if you're playing Soaring Heart. So just keep that in mind, because I know people are. But you have a lot of resource generators. If you happen to get a double in your hand, probably you could pull that all off. Like Team Training, X Gene, that's almost, that could almost pay for Fury of Blades. You have your 2 Psy energy things. So yeah, I know people are like, well, that's a lot of resources. Trust me, she has a lot of resources to use. But just right there, you're nuking the villain, and this is justice, like justice. So anyways, I wanted to share that combo with you, but it's not far-fetched, because I know when you throw the combo word out there, sometimes it's like, well, I have to have the stars aligned to do all this that you're talking about. But in this case, you don't, because that side scheme, player side scheme, is sort of going to get you all the tools you need. But yeah, anyways, that is the justice aspect. I think it works really well. She is a flipper. Float Like a Butterfly is amazing with her. And I think there's some cool things you can build to do cool things with her. Let's go into aggression. Right off the bat, Hone Technique is a great one to put in there. It's going to bump those attack events up. But more importantly, it's a skill. And you have 2 genius generators with your side knives. So very easy to play. In fact, yeah, I don't know why you would not want to play that. Martial Prowess is a skill again. Training Regiment, if you get Training Regiment early, whether from the player size scheme or just early in the game, you can get her built extremely fast. What's up, Luther? Warrior Skill, again, is a skill card, which again amplifies her Fury of Blades, amplifies those upgrade basics, the Psy-Mitter weapon. Again, awesome, awesome, awesome. And I got my mouse there. Fluid Motion is a skill, but I just thought I'd mention that. Combat Training is a skill. Now, I think this is a sleeper one, because for villains that have a lot of Retaliate, especially when you play your... So here's the thing. I think this is a sub card. So if you're going into a villain that has Retaliate, okay, this is a great sub card to put in. With Hone Technique, this is going to 6 damage. But the more importantly, you're avoiding the 1 Retaliate, which I think is really strong. On harder difficulties, these Retaliates do whittle you down. And it's a 2 cost with Hone Technique. That becomes 6. That's a good, that's money right there. 2 for 6. I don't know if I would put the range basic upgrade, the one that Domino likes to run. The chances are you bump it by 1 more damage. But the fact that, you know, yes, you could keep getting your bows, like when you flip to altar, you can keep getting them with your action ability. But I would have to play test it whether it's smart to put a sharpshooter in there. It would be kind of funny though. But yeah, I would only play this, in my opinion, against retaliated villains. I wouldn't bother it without. But this is your money card. Again, this just puts you at a whole different sphere of Confused Queen. Like you now become, you know, the ultimate confused person in Marvel Champions. So run 3 of that. Has really good damage with Hone Technique. It's going to bump it to 5 damage with a Confuse. So again, that is really nice. Important part, and don't underestimate the Psionic trait, because you can keep recurring this back. Check your deck. If it's thinning out and you're running low on those Confuse event cards, then just get one back. You're good to go. But again, you can do the Professor X repurpose thing with Cerebro. And he's a chump blocker. So I think that's probably the strongest kind of combo there. But if you need damage in a Confuse, then Psychic Assault is great. And that's the aggression aspect. So I think she's really solid in aggression. I think aggression and justice and leadership. Actually, I think she can work in every aspect. But I think those 3 are the strongest. Protection is interesting. I don't know if anybody in any of the content channels mentioned this one, but so she has a nemesis, and this sort of comes from my Black Widow Moon Curtain Call deck. But basically, I would wait for Taskmaster to come out with a whole bunch of upgrades, and then use Moondragon to have Taskmaster attack the villain for like 20 damage. This one's interesting because you're going to have a lot of upgrades in protection. So what I would say is what you can do is you're going to have a lot of upgrades. So therefore, she's going to have a lot of an attack. And so she comes out, and you do Psychic Misdirection. You can then choose her, Chimera, to attack the villain. So this 2 cost now is doing maybe like 10 damage. Because let's think about it. Let's count. These are just in her toolkit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 upgrades just right there. Not even the protection upgrades. You're going to run Unflappable. You're going to run probably maybe Hard to Ignores, right? Because it's a skill. Hard to Ignores are a skill, and it's an upgrade. So say you have 3 of these. You have a Judoka skill, Energy Barrier, or whatever. You have your Armored Vest. So, you know, we're talking maybe 15 upgrades. So think about it. A 2-cost event card, and you're doing like 15 damage maybe to the villain. Now here's the thing. Well, what do you do if you're gonna get, like, what if you don't have it in your hand? That's where I would run like a tough ally. Not him per se. I don't know why he costs a lot, but yeah, if you run either the Mystic ally that's a 2 cost that just shuffles back in your deck, you could just play her and Clea. Just have her on the play mat in case she activates on you, and then you just chump block because she doesn't have overkill. But the other thing you're gonna say is, well, if you flip to alter, she's gonna scheme on you for a bazillion. Yeah, that is true. So that's where you might have to confuse her with one of your confuse events. But my point is that you could. I'm not saying you build a deck around that type of combo, but I'm saying if you want to run these, and then worst case scenario, say if she does come out in the middle of the game, you could be like, oh, by the way, we probably have kill shot because I have a misdirect, or I can draw into a misdirect probably, and the villain phase, I'm doing 15 damage back to her, back to the villain. I think the reason why I had Warpath out is if you play her or play him, defend the villain's attack, you could then play a hero action event. So you could do Fury of Blades, do a Confused, or do 6 damage. So, but yeah, it's not the strongest thing in the world, or you could do a tackle after defending with Warpath, or you could do a Hard Knocks. So you defend with him and then Hard Knocks a minion or whatever, so the minion doesn't. But yeah, I think protection is pretty good with her. She has the Retaliate one, so you could kind of build her as a Porcupine type hero. So Porcupine type heroes are the ones that run like Flow Like Water and Electrostatic Armor. And the other one, if your health is higher than your cap, you get +1 retaliate or whatever. So yeah, I haven't really played her in protection, so I don't want to talk too much, but I see a lot of cool things you could do with her. More importantly, with the Nemesis, actually. I think that's kind of funny. So that is all the aspects. We went through all of them. We didn't really talk about the Nemesis set. So it is pretty nasty. I mean, this thing is going to hit you hard, but I guess the one positive is just an acceleration. So it's not, I think accelerations are kind of nasty, but they're probably the least nastiest thing out there. Or maybe they're tied with a crisis or a little bit lower than a crisis. Hazards are obviously the worst. But that thing's going to get jacked up pretty high because you're going to have a lot of upgrades. The Dragon card. So, but this is, if you're playing protection, you should be okay if you have a force field or something. But indirect damage can be a little scary. So what this mechanic is really looking for is if you're playing your Psy Knives. Your Psy Knives are geniuses. So that's where you're going to start to take more damage, because it's X indirect damage, where X is the number of genius resource on cards you control. So it's just looking at your cards that you control in the play area. And the only other one that's a genius is the Psionic Training. Everything is aggression. But if you flip them over to the katanas, they're aggressions or fists. So, and then you have this one, which is kind of interesting. It's Psionic Illusion. It's a force interrupt, so you have to do it when you attack an enemy. You would have to name a resource. So I could say ally, then discard the top of your deck. So if it's not an ally, name a resource type. Sorry, it's not type. It's not resource type. So I would say physical, wild, genius. So if it's, say, not a genius, change the target. So if I'm doing a basic 3 attack, I got to change the target and pick a friendly character. So that could be a little bit kind of scary, because you're trying to do the puzzle thing with her, so these are things that could throw off your puzzle, right? It says when you attack, I don't know if it means the identity Psylocke or the player as Psylocke, meaning the allies can proc it. I think because it's attached to you, your identity, it's only Psylocke that triggers this, not your allies. But I could be wrong in chat. If chat knows if that applies to my allies as well. I think with the new ruling, it's just her, though, which makes it more scarier. Yeah, so that's going to wrap things up. This is already going kind of long, but this was my first of Let's Talk Psylocke. Basically, it's a series that I'm doing where we just kind of talk about the hero, talk about cards and things I like. And yeah, that's how it is. If you guys like this sort of format or this series, please comment, like. Again, if there's a good response to these type of videos, you'll see more of them in the future. If there's not, then we're going to dive into other things. As you know, we're doing like response videos, breakdowns. This is kind of a different kind of thing that I'm doing now. We got our Let's Plays, and I've got my other, I have the Nick Fury's quick and dirty guides, but I've kind of taken a break from them. I might revisit them, but they didn't get such a big receiving as I thought they would. It's a lot of time to make those compared to this. This one I didn't even prepare for. I just kind of winged it, and it'll probably get a better response than the Nick Fury one did. But I'm not complaining. My goal is I want to grow the channel, so I'm trying to go where the viewers want. So, but yeah, I thank you guys for joining me. And also, again, these series is very it's live, and I do love that you guys are interacting in the chat, because I wanted to make this different, because you have a lot of deep dives and stuff on YouTube, but it's basically pre-recorded, and I'm not knocking them. It's not bad content, but this is different, right? So it's me doing a live one, but also real-time chatting with you guys, and maybe we talk about something very unique, or someone in chat has an interesting idea, and I can communicate that with you live. So I think this is a cool thing. It's different than what's out there on YouTube, because most of it's all pre-recorded. So yeah, but you guys are also a vital part of this. You guys kind of spice things up for me. So this was cool. So again, thank you guys for your time. I will catch you next time. Iron Man, take it away.
It's me, Iron Man. Now, how much Discreet paid me doesn't matter. What matters is to like and subscribe to Discreet Gaming, or else I will repulsor bless you. Seriously, this is what you wrote me.